What's the worst financial decision you've seen someone make? Put everything in his GF's name to hide assets as he owed the IRS. The GF sold his business, cashed out his accounts and ran. My SO's father did this, sold his business to an employee for $1 to hide it during his divorce. And was shocked when suddenly, the guy didn't magically give it back. He lost his entire business and inventory for $1. He was an abusive asshole, so couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Does that even work? Even if the person you sold your business to doesn't screw you over, I can't imagine the court just accepts that you sold your business for $1. Here in Ontario, if you sell a car you have to pay the taxes on what it's worth, not what is claimed on the bill of sale. I imagine such laws exist elsewhere. It only works if the other party has bad lawyers or you aren't going against a government agency. If you try to pull that off against the IRS or bankruptcy courts, they will unwind that transaction and make the other person give back the assets. You will then end up with one very, very pissed off judge who will rake you over the coals. Yeah. Alex Jones has been trying to play a similar shell game post Sandy Hook verdict and it has not been working out for him. LOL. I was watching something that mentioned his lawsuits today on YouTube. Got curious about the latest on him. Do you have any links I can read to give me a justice boner before bed? There is a fantastic duo of two guys chronicling everything dumb Alex Jones says, fact-checks him with receipts. It's called Knowledge Fight. There is a subreddit /knowledge fight. If you have some time, I would go to their site and listen to their podcast, or you can listen on Spotify. If you want just justice boners, listen to all of the formulaic objections episodes. They go over all of the depositions and trial. Yap. It's a strategy idiots use and only ever works against other idiots. Like, no, I cannot give my mother all my assets for free to screw my ex-wife over. However, if your mother had all your assets to begin with, and you ask her every time you want money or to buy something big, that may have a chance. I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I know, when you're sued or divorced or whatever, any recently gifted assets can generally be clawed back by the court if they're owed. The key word here is recently, though. I think it's generally 3 years, off the top of my head. This is to prevent the exact kind of shenanigans mentioned above, but if you never owned the assets to begin with, that's different. My brother's ex fell for a Craigslist scam. She found a motorcycle and the guy needed money upfront to pay bills before she even saw it. We told her don't do it, it's a scam. She said she already sent $1,000. Of course, he was never available to show her the bike, and we found out from my brother after they broke up she actually continued sending him money in hopes of getting the motorcycle. I think she was out $3,000 by the end. My ex-husband got cheated out of tens of thousands of dollars just by being an overtrusting and underthinking seller. He had always wanted a piano his entire life. And one day a friend's father had passed and left them an incredibly amazing and very old piano that she had no use for, so gifted to him. He loved that thing so much. Tuned it and fixed it up. Then a giant ball of tragedies struck that put us in very bad financial situation, causing us to no longer afford where we were currently living and having to move to his family's old home, which is off the mainland and on an island. Being that the only way to get anything moved was by ship and extremely expensive, he had to sell a lot of things. And much to his dismay, the piano was just too big and too heavy to afford to ship there. So he put out a listing to sell it for a very reasonable price. It was an antique, in spectacular condition, made in the early 1900s and was worth at the very least $80,000. He listed it for a fraction of what it was worth due to time constraint on having to get rid of it before the move. Someone contacted him and offered to buy it. And here is where he did something monumentally stupid. The buyer offered to have a truck come and pick up the piano in a very quick time frame and asked if it would be all right to give my husband $1,000 up front and then the rest in 2 weeks when they got paid. I know he was under a lot of stress, but damn, that was dumb. You do not let anyone walk away with an incredibly valuable item without it being paid in full. As I'm sure no one here is shocked by, the person never paid anything else on the piano and just disappeared. The money from that sale alone was pretty much all we were going to have to live off of until he was able to secure a new job in the new location. Scammers are truly awful, and many people need to learn not to be so trusting. It's sad, but it's just how it is. That seems like it is getting to be a large enough theft to warrant an investigation into who that was and his information from whatever social media that happened on. Did the police not do anything? I know they were normally basically ignore car thefts, etc., but this seems like there should have been a trail to work from. Wouldn't that be a civil court matter? It's a contract dispute regarding the balance of payment. I have no idea. I don't even know what country they're in, but I expect not mine due to mentions of the mainland. But fraud, and resulting theft, isn't the same as a contract dispute. Someone intentionally scamming people out of high-value items warrants a criminal charge. So I would hope that wouldn't end with a civil case only. He didn't finish buying it because he was committing fraud and stealing it instead. That's like saying throwing $5 on the table and running out on the majority of your restaurant bill isn't theft, just because the waitress brought your meal to you before they knew you were a liar planning to steal from them. There was probably even written communication at some point as well as evidence of what OP's ex was intending to sell for. My awful aunt was the trustee for my grandparents' estate. When they passed, she decided to sell their house to a random realtor who put a leaflet on the door. To the realtor, not with the realtor. It wasn't put on the market, and the aunt rejected a matching offer by me after I argued hard to actually list the house and have people bid on it. The realtor slapped a new coat of paint on it and sold it a couple of months later for literally $1 million more than she bought it for. IANAL, but she breached her fiduciary duty and you could have taken her to court for it. Yeah, I should have, but there was a lot going on at the time. I had newborn twins with 2 pre-existing kids already at home, and I was grieving the loss of my grandfather who was one of my best friends my entire life. There were also more beneficiaries involved, so the personal loss to myself wasn't the full $1 million. Not that it wouldn't still be worth it, but with everything going on at the time I just didn't have it in me. And as you can probably imagine, my aunt would have dragged it out and fought tooth and nail to the bitter end. It was probably worth it for me to be able to cut that branch of the family off and walk away, rather than have to deal with them in such a manner for God knows how long. Edit, my friends, the pre-existing descriptor was clearly meant as a joke. My supervisor took out a loan against their $401k to pay their rent because their credit cards were maxed. 2 weeks later, they bought a brand new $60k Lincoln with basically nothing down because her daughter just had a baby and I need a bigger car for that. I sat down with a guy to help him figure things out. He had a fair amount of credit card debt but nothing impossible. Just by consolidating it on a new card with 0% interest for even a year it'd have seen amazing progress. Seemed like he had taken my advice. Next I saw him, it turned out he paid it off using his 401k. I don't really think that's a hard bad decision, more of a soft bad decision. He still got rid of the debt. It's not like he pissed the 401k away. He used it to get rid of credit card debt, not buy a boat or something like that. There's no fees associated with most 401k loans. The downside is the money you loan yourself doesn't accrue interest. It's also not a 0% loan, though it's usually a fairly low rate. I was in a bind for legal reasons and had to take one, and mine was less than 2%. In this specific circumstance, if he had the chance to pay it off at 0% through a credit card, I'd agree it's a soft bad choice. Soft because the reasons I mentioned above, retirement money isn't accruing interest and the relatively higher rate, but not terrible because he's not opening a new CC. My former sister-in-law had a thriving medical practice. She got so stressed that she joined the Scientologist and started taking their classes. She opened up 5 to 6 credit cards without telling my brother, maxed the cards out with hundreds of thousands in cash withdrawals, and gave it to that cult. Yeah, but did she rid herself of her harmful body the tons? Edit, I fixed the spelling of the invented magical beings to align with the great L. Ron Hubbard's true intentions. The last thing I want to do is engage her in conversation on the subject. First, the entire notion drives me crazy. Second, I don't have a good poker face. You don't need a good poker face. You should be laughing in her face the entire time. Cashed in their 401k to have a cocaine party. How was it? Basically everyone just came over and stole his cocaine and many of his belongings. He then had to move back home with his mom shortly thereafter, so probably not great for him. Well, that sounds awful. As crazy as it sounds, announcing all over your university campus that you were buying $20,000 worth of cocaine for a party at your place and everyone is invited, was not a great idea. LOL, marketing to the wrong people for sure. Worked with a 50-year-old guy who looked like the arse end of a rhino and hated anyone not from England who sent £10,000 to his fiancée in Thailand who he'd never met for a boob job, clothes and flight over. Oddly enough, her naked pics and promises of anal when she visited stopped once the money had been sent. We had to talk to one of our employees a couple of weeks ago about something like this. He's not the best looking or most intelligent guy, but he's a nice guy. Apparently he met a girl online who lives in Atlanta. We saw her Facebook page and you could tell something was fishy. She was this smoking hot blonde with only like 4 pictures, all in skimpy tops and lingerie. No other posts on her page, just pictures. She told him she was single and had no family. They had all passed away. He decided a week after meeting her that he was gonna quit his job and move to Atlanta to live with her and help her rent an apartment. Us fellow employees and his family kept telling him it was a scam or catfish and not to go through with it. He got pissed and apparently had suicidal thoughts and checked himself into a mental hospital for a couple of days, but eventually he agreed and didn't go through with it. Yikes. There's this older guy I used to work with who had these scammers all over him on Facebook. I don't know if they are all connected, but somehow all of these obvious fake profiles found him and added him. These are all profiles showing very attractive young women in skimpy clothing that was obviously just ripped from Google, and he will carry on full conversations with them in the comment section on his pictures. Talking about their day, saying that she will be visiting his area soon and would love to meet with him. He's so handsome and funny, and I feel really bad for him because he's an older single unattractive dude with no social skills and he's being led to believe that all these women want him. If I was closer to him I would have sent him a message telling him that all his profiles are fake. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.